Hello, listeners, and welcome to the ESPN 8 The Ocho Network here with Jay's Podcast. Again, Jay's Podcast on ESPN 8 The Ocho, which we're now on not just podcast platforms, but YouTube. Technology is evolving. What does that mean? I'm not really sure because YouTube's been around for a long time. But hey, podcast just figured out you can also record yourself as you talk. So now you can see me on video. Or if you'd rather just keep it to podcast, I got a face that's better for radio. Am I right? But anyways, yes, we are now on YouTube, so feel free to subscribe to that channel as well on YouTube. The show is proudly presented to you by FanDuel.com. FanDuel, where if you sign up today with just $5, they give you $10,000 free. Again, that's just put $5 down, get $10,000 free. Says in the small lettering here that $10,000 is just a credit to your account where you have to use on a wager with plus a billion odds or higher. Again, plus a billion odds or higher, but that $10,000 could be made into $10 trillion if my math adds up there. Anyways, it sounds like you're getting absolutely fucked on this deal, but $5, $10,000 free is what they say in the big lettering. Also included the small lettering here. It says gambling is a very poor lifestyle. Has some mental health issues, addiction problems, financial stability issues. But again, that's all in the small lettering. So we're focused on the big lettering here. That's $5 down for $10,000 free. Just $5. I mean, that's a no-brainer if you ask me, but I'm an idiot. So who knows? We don't look at the small lettering. The show is also brought to you by Victoria's Secret. Again, that is Victoria's Secret. It looks like here you go to victoriassecret.com. You know, it's holiday season. Maybe you want to get some nice lingerie for your partner, maybe some holiday theme stuff. I know everyone goes for Grinch themed lingerie. I'm trying to think of what else is really sexy out there. Maybe dress like a turkey. That would be good. That would be a good one. victoriassecret.com/rankings. Again, victoriassecret.com/RANKINGS. And if you enter your fantasy football record, so unfortunately, Ryan would be entering 29 for being 2-9. You get 29% off. We're looking at Tom's record here. It looks like he's 8-0. If he were to enter 8-3, he would get 83% off any lingerie. So might want to look into that, Tom. I'm sure Snow would love to see a life-size turkey looking sexy on a Thursday afternoon. So onto the show, with today's topic being the most horrendous content that any sports media outlet has this time of year, because we're on November, January's around the corner. So we're going to talk about rankings, like the college football style rankings, where we're going to go over key wins, Heisman odds. We're going to talk about fictional matchups and brutal losses that every team has had. Again, so a lot of this is just hypotheticals, past stuff that we already know about, but for some reason, every single media outlet talks about it like it's something interesting and that we all care about, so I'm going to put you through that same shit. So we'll get right into it. At number 1, we have box toppers here. They have some key wins. They're 8-3, big wins against the Math Blasters. They beat the Captain Boxer Pants and even had a game where they scored over 200 points. So they're just a dominant team. You know, they got Jonathan Taylor. They got 4 players in the top 7 of fantasy this year. So 4 of the top 7, those are some good numbers. You know, they got a lot of good players. Similar to Ohio State, you know. It's funny when people ask, like, who can compete with these teams that are just outstanding? Well, it looks good when you're Indiana and you got like 5 good guys, but then Ohio State has like 30 good guys. It seems like a situation similar to this here where obviously any week you can get a team down. I'm not saying it's a lock by any means, but this team that looks really good, really stacked. So brutal losses that they had this year, I'm seeing on my list here. They lost to Liam early on in the season. You just can't lose to the Hardy Boys. They are not a good team, so that's a very bad loss. Just looking at it now kind of makes me mad. It was at Joe's bachelor party. Liam wasn't there. I was going through hell. Yeah, Hardy Boys. Anyways, no time to reflect there. Some of their Heisman candidates looks like on this team we have Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane has been coming on as of late. Jackson Smith and Jigba, one of the hardest names to pronounce in sports, but man, that guy can play ball. And Drake May. Drake May is a new addition to the squad, so we're excited to see what he can bring to this team, as they're already been on a tear. So who knows where they can go from here. And on to my second ranked team. We have the Captain Boxer Pants. That team is run by Tom. Great head coach, great at recruiting. Has stepped down a little bit in the transactions talent pool lately. I haven't really seen him make trades that we're normally accustomed to. He's got some big wins this year. Looks like he put up over 220 points, a league record to this day, at least as the sleeper app tracks. He's got a 220-point game, so that's obviously a huge win. He also beat the Math Blasters, who are in the contention for the final trophy here, so a couple big wins there. His only bad loss, and I don't even know if I call this a bad loss. I mean, when you look at just the timing and, mentality of the team at this point, mid-year, they're probably just taking every week. Some they get up for, others they just probably try to coast through. But I just have it noted here that he did lose to David It's Ballsack, run by Tyler. That's their worst loss, which my team lost that. I didn't even put it on my list, so I have to. It's good content I'm giving you guys. I'm going through my notes. Not consistent. Consistency is key. Anyways, we're dragging here. We're dragging. We got to get back to being focused. So Tom's Heisman candidates. He has Christian McCaffrey, and he has George Pickens, Drake London. Great receiver pool that he has there. Also drafting Tyler Warren was a big addition to the squad. Looks like he's got 4 players in the top 35 in fantasy, so not quite 4 in the top 7, but 4 in the top 35. It's nothing to look away from. So we'll see where Tom can take his team, as we noticed that he pushed the trade deadline back, so maybe he's trying to make a move for himself. He floated the question out there if we wanted to keep it the same or move it back. No one really put any input in, so he just made a rogue decision, almost like he's up to something, making decisions on his own. On to the third team, we have Tyler's team, David It's Ballsack. Got some big wins against the Box Top Ops, as well as R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. Some key wins for sure, beating the first place team. I mean, that just lets you know that his team can hang with anyone. I mean, there is an asterisk on there. Looks like Jonathan Taylor wasn't playing. That is the potentially best player in fantasy this year, so that's a big deal. But a win's a win. You don't ask how, you ask how many. And again, also beat R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. The losses is what I have highlighted here, though. Some bad losses. He's got a loss to Ryan. Ryan, we will hear from later in the show. Not hear from, but talk about later in the show. And that is a bad loss. Lost to Tino's, as well as lost to Haynes. So some tough losses, but hey, you're in third. Can't really argue with the progress your team has made. Some Heisman candidates. He's got Javonte Williams from out of nowhere. Great draft pick there. Javonte Williams is kind of rebirth here in Dallas. You got Trey McBride. That guy just loves garbage time. Don't know if he's a winning player in real life, but really, once the defense just plays prevent defense, he loves to run those quick curls, quick out routes where he just catches on the sideline and no one's near him, so he can run 10 yards and just go out of bounds and flex on him, even though he didn't really do anything cool. But Trey McBride, definitely a front runner. If I were to say anyone in football I noticed is a front runner, Trey McBride. I would like to see him actually play competitive football, because I don't think he's as good as he's hyped up to be. On to the fourth team, we have the Math Blasters, run by Mr. Connor Garvey. His only key win I see on the schedule is against David It's Ballsack, so he beat Tyler. I mean, that's nothing to look away from. So that's the fourth best team beating the third best team. 2 losses that I highlighted are pretty bad. One of them is to Cam. We'll also talk about Cam's team later on in the show. Also lost to Ben. Just 2 guys that don't really use the waiver wire too much. Yeah, you hate to. Those are ones that you got to win. But hey, here we are. You won last year, so you can't just knock him off and say he's just an easy out in the playoffs. Again, this is a formidable champion. He's going to look to repeat this year, so had to keep him up there in the top 4. The Heisman candidate looks like that he has on his team would be Dak Prescott, having a great year. Another guy that's kind of a front runner in this league. Don't know if he'd be good if he was like playing competitive football. But hey, can't really make your own schedule. He just plays in front of you. So he's got Dak on that list. Moving on to number 5, we have R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. His key win would be against Captain Boxer Pants. Again, like I mentioned earlier, Tom doesn't really have any bad losses. I couldn't count this one as a bad loss, losing to a top 5 team. Mike's losses, though, he lost to Cam and to Liam. Where's the handshake meme? Me, Mike, losing to Liam. And then, yeah, losing to Cam is a brutal one, as we went over with Connor. So Cam's got a couple wins against some better teams. Mike's Heisman candidates, he's got Bijan. That dude is fucking cool. Mahomes has resurrected his career, if you even want to call it that. You look pretty bad against Denver, though. But anyways, those are his best players on his team. And number 6 is kind of where the rankings get a little wacky, because again, these are my college football rankings. I am the committee today, so I don't give a shit what anyone else has to say. I have Junie B. Jones here. I know his record doesn't exactly show it, but I think his team is formidable. He's got some wins against box top ops, as well as the math blasters, so 2 wins against the top 3 teams. Only thing is some losses he's had against Ryan and to Cam. Those are ones that are going to put you in this spot here where you maybe could have been a top 4 team, but now we're looking at top 6. Some Heisman candidates, Danny Dimes out of nowhere. Just a rebirth there in Indianapolis. Bo Nix, who I think is garbage, but somehow is a top 10 fantasy player, which eye test says that is just not true. And then also Jamar Chase, the Loogie King himself. So he won't be playing next week, but top wide receiver in fantasy football. On to the second half of these rankings. In 7th, we have the Big Friendly Giants run by Tinos. The only key win I really could pick out on his schedule was against Tyler. I mean, that is a top 3 team to beat. Beat Tyler there. Losses, though, to Liam, and what should have been a loss to Ben if Ben, just ever paid attention. So, Ben, if you're watching this video, you're gay. I'll give you a point this week if you reply in the group chat saying I'm gay or I'm not gay. Feel free to defend yourself and you can get a point. But I know if you even tried to watch, you're not 12 minutes into this thing. So I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, those 2 losses, or what should have been a loss, and then lost to Liam. That's a tough look. The Heisman candidate on the team is just James Cook. He's been cooking. I know that was a clever one. Let the man cook is the only guy on the team really that I consider to be a good player. We play this weekend though, so I'm sure me even just saying that will mean he will probably have a bunch of points on Thursday and probably just whoop my team, but whatever. Don't care, not worried. I'm sure I'll regret saying that. And at number 8, we have I Spy a Bad Team. I know in the rankings that's the sleeper committee he puts out. I know they run the numbers, and I think Haynes is in like 5th. I Spy a Bad Team. Yeah, you're just a bad team. That's a fraud team. I Spy a fraud. His only good win is against Tyler. That was early on in the year where Haynes started off like 4-0. Whatever it was, he's lost a lot since. Key losses, it's to Tinos. Again, that's just not a good team to lose to at this point in the season. The only Heisman candidate on the team is the Sun God. Should have looked at some of my trades earlier last week. If you had accepted that, I wouldn't have been able to get Travis Kelce. I wouldn't have been able to get Drake May. I would have given you a lot for Sun God, but unfortunately that's off the table now. And you still haven't checked the trade, so I can still see after your 4 or 5 times saying you'll look at it. You haven't looked at it. Just a warning, it does tell me that. In number 9, we have the Book Boycotters. Again, I know Ben's ranked like 10th maybe or something, or 11th, but should have beaten Tinos. Did not get that win because he is a poopy head loser. He does have a key win against Connor Garvey. That's a top 4 team to beat, so I guess that's impressive. But to lose to Tinos on just, I think it was like I think you just had that text in the group chat and didn't do that. That's a tough look. And then also losing to Haynes, not good. Heisman candidates, though, you have a few, I would say. Josh Allen. I mean, Rico Dowdle's come out of nowhere this season, so that was a savvy pickup. I'm sure Ben was locked in on him the whole summer and saw this coming the whole time. Same thing with Jake Ferguson. For a long time was tight end number 1. I know Ben was doing his homework all off season on fantasy football, and just could tell right away that Rico Dowdle and Jake Ferguson would be some sleepers that he could grab late. So kudos to him for really studying hard this summer and understanding football and really being ready to participate in this league with those savvy picks. At number 10, we have the Hardy Boys, Liam, who I think is very high up in the sleeper rankings. But again, this is my committee rankings, and your team fucking sucks. You beat me, though, so I guess I can't even say your team fucking sucks. Your team is bad. I'll retract fucking sucks because that sounds insulting, but your team is bad. And you did beat Mike as well, R.L. Stein Goosebumps. So those are 2 good wins, but your point scored's not good. You did lose to Haynes. You lost to Ben, and I think a week where Ben didn't play a tight end. Your team just doesn't score a lot of points, but you do have Puka as a Heisman candidate, so that's something pretty cool. At least you get to watch some fun football when he's out there and get to root for him. And then at number 11, we have the Magic B House. Has some key wins, honestly, against Garvey, Mike, and I put Joe down on there as a key win. I think Joe's team, again, is a little disrespected by the sleeper rankings, but just some brutal losses that you can't have to Ben, to Liam, Tinos, Haynes. Like, just even if half of those were wins, you'd be sniffing around the playoff spot. So just some brutal losses there. For at least some Heisman odds here, you got Stafford, who's maybe going to win the MVP in real life, so that's pretty cool. Jahmyr Gibbs is out there too on your team, and as we discussed in our trade talks, I think he's the most fun guy to watch in sports or in football that's not on the Patriots. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is fucking electric factory. Even just watching that game against the Eagles, like every time he touched the ball, he would get like 20 yards, and then they would have Jared Goff throw 3 fucking ducks. And you're almost like, why don't you just keep giving it to Jahmyr Gibbs? It's the only thing that's working for you. And David Montgomery is the most frustrating part of Jahmyr Gibbs. It's that just, don't even get me started on fucking David Montgomery. That guy is a fucking asshole. Takes away so much enjoyment from football fans. Like, why do you exist, David Montgomery? Go to like fucking Jacksonville and get your 1 yard touchdowns over there. Why do you got to take away from Jahmyr Gibbs? This guy's fucking awesome. Anyways, last on my rankings here is the Bears. Would be Ryan's team. The only key win I put down was Tyler, so he did beat David at ballsack. That was early on in the year. I think you have stopped checking would be my guess, because that was early on, and you have some pretty bad losses with a team that's not so bad. But you lost to Ben, you lost to Liam, you lost to Cam, you lost to Haynes. So just now what you're looking for. But you have like touchdown machines on your team. So like for the Heisman candidates, Jalen Hurts, and you have Kyron Williams. Like those guys just score touchdowns left and right. So you almost got to wonder if it's a coaching problem that's going on there at the Berenstain Bears. So those are my college ranking style fantasy football rankings. So there's rankings on rankings on rankings, rankingception. So again, this podcast is also brought to you by Inception and terrible content in the sports world. So I hope you enjoyed this shitty content. We'll see you next week on the show.